At the heart of every computer is a component responsible for processing instructions, running programs and controlling system operations, the CPU or the Central Processing Unit. I'm James. Please follow me through this video series covering the CompTIA A+ course. Whether you're opening applications, browsing the internet or running complex tasks, the CPU is constantly working behind the scenes to execute instructions and keep the system running smoothly. In this video, we're continuing our journey through motherboards and CPUs with Module B covering the CPUs, where we'll focus on how processors work, why they are critical to system performance. This topic is part of the CompTIA A+. It is essential knowledge for anyone preparing for a career in IT support or hardware troubleshooting. In this lesson, we'll cover the role of the CPU in a computer, the key CPU characteristics such as cores, threads and clock speed, and common CPU architectures, and we'll also be looking at the requirements for cooling and thermal considerations. Understanding how the CPU works will help you make better decisions when upgrading systems, troubleshooting performance issues, or building computers. Let's begin by taking a closer look at what the CPU does and how it processes instructions. The CPU is a component of the motherboard. It is a type of microprocessor, an electronic chip that receives instructions for processing from the computer's hardware and software, specifically from the operating system and applications. Early CPUs relied on external chips for many computer functions, but modern processors are complex devices that can govern most of the computer function. Some are even system on a chip or SoC design integrated, what used to need an entire motherboard full of components. Typically, desktop computers have a single CPU chip. In contrast, server motherboards often are multi-socket. This feature allows a server to have two or more processors on a single motherboard. As a result, server motherboards have more cores and threads available for processing data. In general, a typical server motherboard can handle a higher computational workload than a desktop motherboard. This design is necessary given that most servers often power resource-intensive applications and provide file and resources to many computers simultaneously. Because CPUs are one of the most important components in a computer, A+ technicians need to understand several CPU characteristics. CPU features that are part of these characteristics include the architecture, integrated graphics processing unit, virtualization, and the no execute or NX bit. Now the terms x86 and x64 refer to the architecture of the CPU, specifically related to the width of the data buses, registers, and memory address spaces. x86 is a 32-bit architecture based on a 32-bit instruction set, meaning it can handle 32 bits of data at a time. Now this limits the maximum addressable memory to 4 gigabytes. On the other hand, x64 is a 64-bit extension of the x86 architecture. The most significant advantage of x684 over the x86 is its ability to address vastly more memory. Additionally, x64 processors handle more data at once, allowing for faster, more efficient processing. Modern operating systems and applications are optimized for x64 processors. You can run 32-bit software on a 64-bit processor, but you won't see any benefit from having a 64-bit processor. However, 64-bit operating systems and 64-bit applications are not compatible with a 32-bit processor. An integrated GPU is a graphics processing unit on the same chip as the CPU. Now this allows the CPU to directly control displays, provide the motherboard as a display port. Integrated GPUs are a less expensive alternative to standalone graphics cards. If you later add a separate graphics card using a motherboard expansion slot, you may need to disable the integrated GPU in the system BIOS or UEFI. Virtualization allows your computer system to run virtual machines as a unique computer system with full access to all hardware for individual applications. Many virtualization products rely on virtualization extensions built into the CPU, which improve the compatibility and performance of virtual computers. Hardware virtualization is supported by all modern AMD and Intel CPUs and should be enabled by default. If not, you need to access the BIOS or the UEFI and enable the feature. The No Execute or NX bit is a security feature that allows the operating system to classify areas of memory as non-executable, preventing the CPU from running any code residing there. Enabling it provide extra protection against malicious software. To use this feature, your CPU must have the executable disable bit compatibility and the operating system you are running must support it. Now, every processor has a clock that determines how quickly it can process data. Modern CPUs used in PCs and mobile devices range between roughly 1 GHz and 5 GHz clock speed. Now, in general, higher clock speed means more performance and higher power consumption. Now, unlike other architecture features, CPU speed can often be changed by overclocking the processor to boost performance and even underclocking it to reduce power consumption. Modern processors often automatically adjust clock speed based on performance needs and CPU temperature. Be aware that excessive overclocking can cause overheating or system instability. Now, a core is the fundamental processing unit of a CPU. It can process a single instruction stream or thread at a time. Each core has two primary components: the arithmetic logic unit and the arithmetic and logic operations. The control unit fetches instructions from memory, decodes them and executes them, calling the ALU to perform arithmetic and logic operations when necessary. Now, a single core processor can only run multiple threads by switching between them. Multi-cores allow the processor to independently process multiple threads at once. New performance processors might have 8 or more cores, and server chips can have even 100 cores. More cores tend to be more expensive and consume more electricity. A feature often called hyper-threading or simultaneous multi-threading places additional registers on a physical core, allowing it to behave as two logical cores. Each logical core can process its own thread, but they share the same underlying resources as a physical core. Frequently, hyperthreading is used in conjunction with multiple cores. For example, you might see 4-core, 8-threaded CPU. Now, if your CPU supports multi-threading, you can enable or disable the feature in your system BIOS or the UEFI. Hyperthreading is beneficial in the same situation where multiple cores are useful, but is less efficient. The performance improvement of hyperthreading is typically only about 30% of doubling the core count. However, it is typically less expensive and consumes less power. The CPU cache is fast memory used to process instructions or data. An instruction cache speeds up executable instruction fetching. A data cache speeds up data fetch and store. Unified caches can do both. Caches are organized in a hierarchy starting with level 1, 2, and 3. Now, level 1 is small and high speed. Level 2 is larger and slower. Level 3 is the largest and the slowest of all, but still faster than RAM. Most CPUs have adequate cache for typical workloads, but more is always better. If you're choosing between two CPUs with similar core count and clock speed, consider the one with more cache. The least recently used algorithm assigns cache items based on the order they were processed. Most recently used algorithms do the opposite, removing the newest items when space is needed. The specific type of processing requirements determines whether the LRU or the MRU is appropriate. The CPU socket provides the physical and electrical connection between the CPU chip and the motherboard. Pin grid array or PGA layout features pins on the underside of the CPU that are inserted into holes in the processor socket. Land grid array or LGA layout replaces the pins on the bottom of the CPU with gold pads called LANs. The pins are located on the socket instead. Ball grid array or BGA layout solder the CPU onto the motherboard and are typically seen in laptops and other portable devices. BGA chips cannot be replaced as their placement is permanent. The CPU select must be compatible with the socket provided on the motherboard. Both Intel and AMD have designed each of their socket types to accommodate a range of CPUs so that it's easy for you to upgrade a computer processor. Now, instead of sockets, some older CPUs are packaged in cartridges that stand on end and install in a slot on the motherboard similar to a PCI expansion slot. Slot CPUs have not been common since the early 2000s. As your CPU and other processor chips, such as the Northbridge and Southbridge, work to process information, they generate heat. If a processor temperature rises above a rated maximum, it can damage the chip. Most modern CPUs must be kept under 185 degrees Fahrenheit or 85 degrees Celsius. There are several motherboard computer manufacturers employ to keep the CPU and other processor chips from overheating. Aluminium or copper cooling devices that sit on top of the processor or other heat generating component, typically held down with a clamp. Now that's called a heatsink. Heatsinks conduct heat from the processor to thin metal fins that radiate into the air. Copper heatsinks are more efficient but also more expensive. In addition to processors, you often find smaller heatsinks on chips and even RAM. Because it has no moving parts and makes no noise, a heatsink is considered passive cooling. A heatsink alone can only provide limited cooling, and one large enough for a powerful CPU would be very large and very heavy. A feature found on large, powerful heatsinks used for high-end CPUs and laptops is the heat pipe. A heat pipe is a hollow pipe filled with a special fluid that helps it move efficiently, carrying heat away from the processor and out to the fins. Because the fluid is circulated by internal heat rather than external power, heat pipes are still passive cooling and silent. Now, a cooling fan is a form of active cooling that uses a fan to blow air, improve heat dissipation. CPU and GPU coolers usually include one or more fans that blow over the fins of a heatsink, greatly improving its cooling ability. Most computers also have one or more case fans that bring cool air into the case or send hot air out the exhaust. On a laptop, it might be the same fan that cools the CPU. Fans must be powered and they create noise and gather dust. Thermal paste is a thermally conductive paste or pad that's placed in a thin layer between the heatsink and the processor. It improves heat transfer by eliminating any air gaps caused by simply clamping the heatsink into place. Most thermal compounds are made from electrically non-conductive materials like zinc oxide, though some use silver or other metals to improve heat transfer. Thermal paste can be included with a cooling solution or sold separately. Now, thermal pad is a thin, flexible material used to improve heat transfer between a heat sink and processor. It works similarly to thermal paste by filling in microscopic gaps and imperfections between the surface, ensuring better contact and more efficient heat dissipation. Now, unlike thermal paste, thermal pads are typically pre-formed and easily to install, making them a convenient option for users who prefer a mess-free solution. Thermal pads are often made from materials like silicon, graphite, or ceramics, and can include thermally conductive fillers such as aluminium oxide or copper. While thermal pads may not provide the same level of performance as high-end thermal paste, they offer a reliable, straightforward option for everyday cooling needs. A liquid cooler uses water or some other liquid pumped through tubes to heat sinks on the heat reservoir away from the CPU, and sometimes even outside of the case. Now, unlike heat pipes, it uses a pump to actively move liquid. Liquid coolers can be quieter, more efficient than heat sinks and fans, but they're more expensive and they can possibly leak. A mobile processor is a CPU that is used in mobile devices such as smartphones, tablets, and embedded devices. A mobile processor has the following features. It is typically housed in a smaller chip package. It uses a lower voltage than the desktop counterpart. It doesn't require a fan for cooling. It has the capability of sleep modes. Now, when a mobile processor enters sleep mode, it throttles down to different power levels, or sections of the chip are turned off entirely when not in use. Sleep modes are used to conserve power and prolong battery life. The most common mobile processor used in mobile devices is the Advanced RISC Machine or ARM processors. ARM is a family of reduced instruction set computer architectures of CPUs. There have been several generations of the ARM design. ARM1 uses a 32-bit internal structure, but had a 26-bit address space that limited it to 64 megabytes of main memory. ARM version 3 series uses a 32-bit address space and doesn't have a limit on main memory. ARM version 8 series uses a 64-bit address space and a 64-bit arithmetic, which with its new 32-bit fixed length instruction set. ARM 9 uses a 64-bit address space and a 64-bit arithmetic. It introduced enhanced security and performance, supporting new security framework with confidential computing and improved AI capability. ARM version 9 maintains the 64-bit address space and continues to leverage a 64-bit fixed length instruction set, introducing further improvements in AI acceleration and machine learning capabilities. Now, an overheating CPU can cause system slowdown, unexpected shutdown, or even render the computer unable to boot at all. Extreme or long-term overheating can even cause permanent damage to the CPU or other components. Motherboards have temperature sensors that monitor heat levels and record the value in the system BIOS or UEFI. If you suspect your CPU is overheating, you might be able to check the temperature reading in the system BIOS or UEFI. Turn off the power to the computer and leave it for a few hours. Power up your computer, let it run for about 10 minutes, reboot, enter the BIOS or UEFI, check the temperature settings. Now, the exact menu where you'll find the information varies by motherboard manufacturer. So look for something like PC health or monitoring, keeping in mind not all motherboard BIOS or UEFI programs will include the setting. Now, if your BIOS or UEFI doesn't include PC health or monitoring, there are always third-party programs you can install to monitor temperatures. Reboot the computer, let it run until it shuts down, immediately power it up, go back into the system BIOS or UEFI, check the temperature settings recorded. A significant increase in temperature between the first reading and the second indicate an overheating problem. Now, if the temperature readings are high, open the case, check the following items. Is the cooling system connected properly? If it isn't seated properly over the CPU, its ability to keep the CPU at the proper temperature is impaired. If there isn't a complete coating of thermal paste, remove any existing paste and add a fresh layer. Is there dust on the components? Dust insulates components and causes them to overheat. Use your ESD safe vacuum or compressed air to remove dust from the power supply, cooling system, fan blades, heat sinks, fins, and case fans. Make sure you keep faceplates over any unused expansion slot opening to prevent dust from entering the case from these openings. Are all the fans functioning? You might hear the case fan running and assume the CPU fan is working. If a fan isn't working, check the power connection has not come loose. Use a multimeter to verify power supply is sending power to the fan. Now, depending on your result, you might need to replace the fan or the power supply. Is airflow obstructed in any way? Make sure there aren't any cables or other obstructions blocking the vents. Use tie wraps to secure cables and cords so they are away from the vents. Place the computer where vents aren't up against a hard surface like a wall or a desk. You can purchase little feet to attach to the bottom of your laptop to keep the chassis vents up from the desk. Now, physical damage or deteriorating CPU may result in instability. The CPU may not perform instructions correctly, leading to random application crashes or system crashes. Now, this could be caused by excessive wear over time, thermal damage, or factory defects. If the power delivery to the CPU is unstable, insufficient due to issues with the power supply or the motherboard, the CPU may fail to operate correctly, which can cause applications to crash or the system to freeze. When overclocking the CPU, the processor is pushed beyond its rated specification. If the CPU cannot handle the increased workload or voltage, it can become unstable, leading to crashes in applications or system-wide instability. Now, follow these steps to select an appropriate CPU for your computer. Now, first, you need to check the motherboard documentation for a list of compatible processors. Verify that the CPU is not only the right manufacturer, AMD or Intel, but also the correct socket type. Even if the socket matches, make sure the specific model is supported by the motherboard. If you need to update the motherboard BIOS of your FE before installing a new CPU. Secondly, select one with the characteristics and features that meets your needs. For example, while a quad-core processor might provide better performance than a dual-core, will the extra cost be worth it for how the end user will be using it? Third, with your CPU selected, review its installation guide to determine the type of cooling method. Often, you can purchase the CPU and a compatible fan, heatsink, and cooler together. Fourth, if you purchase the cooler, fan, and heatsink together, determine if you will need thermal compound. Sometimes it's included, other times not. Now, before opening your computer case to install the new CPU, you should upgrade your computer BIOS or UEFI. Manufacturers often update their BIOS or UEFI to support newer CPUs. If you upgrade to a CPU that's not supported by your BIOS, your computer won't boot. When installing a CPU, you must be sure to protect both the motherboard and the CPU from ESD or electrostatic discharge. Modern motherboards with replaceable CPUs may use zero insertion force or a ZIF socket. Now, a ZIF socket has a small lever on the side that raises the CPU up and out of the socket. When you push the lever down, the CPU is secured properly onto the connectors and locked into place. The lever places equal force on the CPU housing, preventing the damage you could cause by placing unequal force on a particular area of the CPU. Now, to install a CPU in a ZIF socket, follow these steps. Now, first, power down the computer, unplug it from the power source. Unplug any external cables connected, starting with the power cable. Open your computer case. If attached, detach the ATX 12-volt power connector used to power the CPU from the motherboard. Lift the socket handle. If there is a protective cover protecting the socket when not in use, you can remove that. Place the CPU in the slot. Align any notches on the CPU with those on the socket. Close the socket handle, making sure it locks in position. Attach the 12-volt power connector from the power supply to the CPU power connector on the motherboard. Modern processors regulate the voltage to the socket. Older processors, you might need to configure jumpers on the motherboard to regulate the voltage to the processor. For that, refer to your motherboard documentation to determine the proper jumper setting. Now, CPU cooling systems typically include a fan, a heatsink, and sometimes a liquid cooler. Thermal paste may be applied or must be applied correctly to ensure efficient heat transfer. Now, applying a very small amount of thermal paste to the center of the CPU's top surface. Use an amount slightly smaller than a pea. Using too much paste will reduce efficiency. If the paste spreads past the edge of the CPU, it can damage the socket or the motherboard. Thermal paste is especially dangerous if it contacts electrical connections. Do not spread the paste manually. Place the cooling system over the CPU socket. Match the connectors on the cooling system with the holes or tabs on the motherboard. Gently push the cooling system assembly clips until they snap into place, or screw down the cooling system onto the motherboard. Some coolers may require a screwdriver or others tool to attach or remove. Now, if the cooler has a fan or pump, connect it to the proper motherboard or power supply connector. Close the case, reattach any external cables to your PC, plug the wall outlet power cord into your computer, plug the power cord into the wall outlet, and boot your computer. Monitor CPU temperature after installation to ensure proper cooling. Now that brings us to the end of our introduction to CPUs. Now, the CPU is one of the most critical components in any computer system, responsible for executing instructions, driving overall performance, understanding how it works, from cores to clock speed to cooling and compatibility is essential for anyone working in IT. These concepts are a key part of the CompTIA A+, and they form part of the foundation for upgrading, maintaining and troubleshooting modern systems. Take some time to review the concepts we covered, especially how CPU performance factors impact real-world usage and system efficiency. In the next lesson, we'll be continuing building on this knowledge as we move further into the components that work alongside the CPU. If you found this video helpful, consider subscribing so you don't miss the rest of the lessons in our complete free A+ course. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.